Will my Wi-Fi signal stay strong enough so that I can complete this task right now? Or will I just freeze up and disappear at any moment? I've been feeling really anxious about my Wi-Fi signal because I'm on a road trip and so often my Wi-Fi signal is failing. It's creating a lot of anxious thoughts in my head. It's making me worry that I'm not going to be a good team member to my team. But is this even within my control? And is this something that I'm best at worrying about? Hi, I'm Sierra, and I'm joined with my fabulous team, Amy Yukowski and Rob Hunter. And this is exactly perfectly timed, our chapter this week in a handbook for new Stoics. We are on week 43, and the title is Challenge Your Anxious Thoughts. Man, have I been anxious about Wi-Fi and technology. Anxiety tends to focus our attention on negative possibilities. And so while I'm busy worrying about my Wi-Fi panicking, am I really showing up as my best self? And this is what we're talking about. All right, aside from me and Wi-Fi, what do you guys think about this week?
For me, I'm like, welcome to my world, Sierra. Technology is number one, probably one of the top things that I get anxious about. And sometimes it's anxious about what could happen, but a lot of times it's anxiety about what is happening or how much it is, I'll say, hijacking my peace of mind and my tranquility in the moment. There's also just, the millions of to-do lists that we all have, and can I get it all done in the time that I want, and what happens if I don't? And anxiety and anxious thoughts are just like the running loop that goes on in my mind, which is why this lesson was so awesome to explore this week.
What did you guys do? What did you come up with for conclusions? Because as they walk us through, they give us this very long Seneca quote in his Letters to Lucilius, which we've referred to before, but it's about are anxious thoughts real or imaginary? I realize that mine are all about time, because I have created this place in my body where I'm always in a rush for the next thing. Like even right now, I have to go to work and I'm feeling anxious because I'm like, I need enough space at work to be able to conduct my job and do it well. But I can feel it in my body. That's what this really made me realize. It's a body feel of anxiety. So they do give some suggestions about kind of slowing down, breathing. Like as we're sitting in this chair, feel the chair on your butt, feel the chair on your back, feel your feet on the floor. So that was like, okay. And doing that with breath was one of the things that I'm like working on, but I'm still like, oh my God. Like my body wants me to run to the next place.
Yes. So they suggest that the first step is to check in with the present moment. And Rob, you just mentioned a lot of those fantastic ones. And then they say, and then relax into it. Whatever you're feeling right now, relax into it. You're not ignoring it, just relaxing into it. And then after you've grounded yourself, is there actually anything wrong right now? So it's like present moment. Okay, we're here. Are you late yet? Or has your Wi-Fi signal failed yet? No, not yet. Not yet. It might, but is it bad right now? No, it's not bad right now. We're still okay on time. Rob's not going to be late to work and get fired. And hopefully my Wi-Fi signal will stay strong. And hopefully Amy will be calm too. All right. So then after is anything actually wrong right now? Lay out the outcome you're worried about. What do you think might happen? So this is, and the Stoics refer to this as premeditatio malorum. How'd I do, Amy, on the pronunciation?
Fantastic. Gold star.
So now they want you to actually think about if it did go wrong, what would actually happen? Okay, you're thinking it through. Then, is this worry doing me any good right now? So in other words, is me worrying about it doing any good? Am I making a better plan? Or am I literally just spinning my wheels worrying about it? So those are the steps. So how did you guys do with the steps?
So before I get into the steps, I do want to touch on what I loved about this is that, one of the core pieces of this lesson is that so often we let our worries or anxieties of the future, really impact our tranquility in the present. And even along with that, they talk about one of the key things is that we don't actually put those anxieties to the test. We don't, I think this is a paraphrase, we don't hold up a mirror to that anxiety and say, number one, how true is this? Or how possible is this to happen? You know, there's the part of the quote that I love. It says, truth has its own definite boundaries. That which arises from uncertainty is delivered over to guesswork and the irresponsible license of a frightened mind. And I circled that and I was like, wow, that is such a great way to think about it. And I loved that with these 3 steps, as part of step 2, which is what do you think will happen? There's also the follow-up to that is, how right were you with that thought? If you look back on it, like, was it actually as bad as you thought it was? And we don't do that. And so we're never kind of adjusting our anxiety dials. You know, we're just going on to the next anxious thought, as opposed to saying like, okay, well, how good was I guessing it the last time? You know, doing that reassessment. I thought that was so key, like going back and saying, how good of a prognosticator or Nostradamus was I? Was I spot on or was I way off?
Yeah.
You do have difficult conversations too, because you get anxious about them. So you think ahead of time and you go, okay, I have to talk to my boss because I screwed something up. This is a real example. I forgot to read something on the air and he asked for an air check, which is basically proof that you did it. So I was like, I could email him and just skate around the issue. I could fake it. Don't do that. It's a lie. But I decided, you know what? I'm going to confront this head on. I'm just going to call him and I'm going to say, I blew it. I forgot. And he says, okay. And I said, here's my strategy so that I won't forget next time. I'm going to put it in my calendar. I'm going to write it on a Post-it note. And I'm going to post that Post-it note right on the bottom of my computer so I can look at it. So I came up with a solution, but I faced the issue head on rather than getting too anxious about it.
But for a while, you did have a little bit of that anxiety and
right through
what's
it. Right?
The worst case scenario? And again, that's where premeditatio malorum, that premeditating on what could go wrong, can be healthy. And it's not meant to be that anxious rumination of like the wringing of your hands and, oh, but what if this happens? What if this happens? It's actually causing you to confront it and say, if this happens, how bad will it be? Or how will I actually handle it? As opposed to just going in that hamster wheel of anxious thoughts.
Well, that's the point, right? It's the time element. If you spend so much time ruminating, so premeditation malorum, you get it. What's the worst case? Okay, got it. Checked it off the list. Moving on. The time in the hamster wheel is what makes you even more anxious and makes it more nuts for you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's also shifting to that growth mindset of I can do better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's learning from that anxiety about things. I can do better, whether it's situational or it's your perspective is how can I be better at this, which is our goal, right? As Stoics is to be better or to be more virtuous. So this is the work of life. We will always be trying to be better, do better, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
So the plan and action, if it's helpful to do so, or put the worry aside if it's not. So in other words, is this tied to something that you can improve upon? And if it literally is not, like if you're sitting there worrying about if there's going to be an earthquake today or a volcanic eruption. Now, you could plan your escape route.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from having an escape route, am I in control of a volcanic eruption or an earthquake? No. So therefore, I should stop worrying about if there's going to be an earthquake or a volcanic eruption. Well, I am near some volcanoes, so that I'm here in New Mexico, but I don't think they're going to erupt today. And if they do, I'm just going to run as fast as I can and see where I get.
And I think that's ultimately the key of this lesson is that worry isn't helpful if it's just worry.
Yeah.
Like you talk about, there are triggers or there are thoughts that come in. Like if there is a worry, that's a cue. But it's meant to be a trigger to then take an action of some sort. Whether that action is actually devising a plan of attack, or a plan. So, okay, if I'm worrying about, well, what if there's an earthquake? All right, well, I can't control that earthquake, but what I can do is set my escape plan. So I'm going to focus my energy on actually doing something with that worry feeling. And it can be planning that attack or saying, there's nothing I can do about this. So what is worrying serving me? You know, it's great when they talk about in step 1, that checking in with the present moment first and foremost. But they say that when we're worried about something, the present moment is not what's causing our distress. It's thinking about it. It's what we're thinking about outside of it. And then again, how you are then taking that thought and making it useful to you rather than making it a burden that you are struggling with, that anxiety, right? So everybody, we all feel anxiety. We can't just say, oh, don't worry about it. It's fine. I mean, we all have that, but it's what you do with that cue, to your point, that trigger, that is really important. And it's asking those questions, you know.
So for me, my big lesson with this was, as I mentioned, my worry was surrounding the Wi-Fi. And as I went through these steps, I said, if I'm stressed, I'm not going to be at my best. It might be fine. We might have to cut it or edit it. Well, I might need to reschedule or make a new plan. The stress part isn't helping me. A plan will, and everything else I will leave to the fates, and I will release that worry. So Rob, what was your main takeaway with what you were working on with worry this week?
And have it to do with time, it is, again, it's getting into that present moment. So when I'm at home, I find it helpful to look outside and focus on the birds or the tree or the mountain behind our house. And I just look at the light and how the light hits it from the sun. Or if I find a cool cactus to look at, you know, living here in the desert, that's what I try to do. If I'm at work, it's about breathing. It's about box breathing, which in one of our challenges that we have done, we did it in May of 2021, based on whenever you're watching this. Sierra put together an awesome box breathing video that I found to be incredibly helpful, to give myself 5 minutes to breathe. 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 hold, and repeat the circle back again.
It's a square, actually.
Yes. We'll circle back to the square on that.
Circle back to the square. Yeah, I think for me as well, when it comes, because I also struggle with time, but not so much the anxiety of the next thing that I have to do, but more about the volume, the amount of work that is in front of me. And that's where, for me, when it comes to time, is having a plan. That is ultimately what helps me, is having a plan, blocking out the time, giving myself a buffer with that block out, because shit hits the fan or doesn't always go according to plan. And I think for me, the planning of it reduces the anxiety, because then it doesn't become managing a list of 20 things in my head and thinking about all of those things and where I'm at with those things and da-da-da-da-da. But I think this was a suggestion that you had given many, many months ago, Sierra, specifically about that you can have all of these concerns, but just write them down. And they don't even have to be something that you take care of immediately, but write them down, plan for them, maybe in 6 months, maybe in a year. Right. You'll eventually get to it. Schedule it out so that way it's off of your plate, if you will. You don't have to worry about it right now. Right now, you're supposed to focus on what you need to do right now.
But you have to almost force yourself to do this. You have to because it is anxiety. So you have to force yourself to face it.
Yes. Yep, exactly.
Well, I think you guys did amazing work this week. And I know we are almost out of time. So just to recap this week, when you've got an anxious thought, our recap is first check in with the present moment and find your way that Rob, you shared about the fresh air. Amy, you shared about making a plan. And then you're going to actually find out what's wrong right now. Then after that, you're going to clearly lay out the outcome that you're worried about, that premeditatio malorum. Actually lay it out and figure out what plans you do have control over and what you do not. And then, is this worry doing me any good right now? If the plan helped alleviate that worry, great. If no plan can alleviate that worry, then release that worry and free up that energy or that time in your brain. So as we go along on this journey to Stoicism, did you guys find this week helpful?
Oh, yes, 100%.
This was a weak
Absolutely.
spot for me that I need to continue to work on. So I'm glad that it popped into this lesson with all the other Stoic lessons that have popped up. And if you're just joining us, we have 42 other ones. We started from chapter 1, so it's sequential. They put them in order on a reason. So if you're seeing this video, go back to week 1 and follow along all 52 weeks, and you'll learn along the way that now I have tools that better help deal with my anxiety over time.
And I think
about time.
And I think to that point as well, we're on week 43. We've been doing this for 43 weeks now. We are not perfect at it. We are still struggling.
Nor will we ever be. Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and these great Stoic thinkers were always working on it.
But we have these. We have not only these tools, but we also have tools, Sierra, like what you have put together in your radical mindfulness program to help deal with those moments of stress and anxiety and sometimes fear, and how to take control, take power over those moments, and how to find that peace and balance in your life. I think that those are key. They even talk about some mindfulness things right here in this chapter, and it made me immediately think of all the great tools you have in your radical mindfulness program.
Which you can get at painttoporchstrategies.com.
That's right. Well said. So for myself, for Amy, for Rob, we are Painted Porch Strategies, and we are here on this crazy journey of life, and we are here to help serve you, to help you pivot and be resilient through whatever is happening in your life. We have all been in tough spots ourselves, so we speak from experience, and we are here to help you to be the best version of yourself, no matter what that is. So we'd love to have you join us in our book club, A Handbook for New Stoics. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on social. You can find us on our website, painttoporchstrategies.com. Until next time, peace out.